Hey, here we are.
Hey.
Episode 4.
Wow. We're just flying through the episodes.
From married young to grace-filled marriage. So it's exciting. So hey, we just a really quick recap, and I want to make a disclaimer. Surprising Missy with this, but we are unscripted, right? There's no script. We think about the thoughts, and we talk about what we're going to talk about, and we kind of have an idea, but we're off script. So just understand that. And sometimes we may seemingly go in a few different directions, but it's because we're off script. So that's really natural for me.
Right.
Not so much for my beloved,
right.
but
I'm rolling with it.
She's
rolling
with it, which is awesome. So I just want to make that disclaimer. And the other thing, hey, let's just get right into it. We're talking about communication today. We want to just remind you that our first couple episodes, first one was just intros, but the second two really got into or set the stage for this topic today.
Did we struggle with communication, Gene?
Well, Missy, I didn't want to throw out our dirty laundry like that all at once. But yeah, there was some struggles early on, as 18 and 19-year-olds might have in their marriage. 19
sometimes?
and 20-year-olds. What are you talking about? I listen to you all the time. I mean, I'm listening, baby. Okay, before we get ourselves in trouble, and I get myself in trouble. But so we talked, about scratching the D word out, etc. And then we got into because really we didn't know I wasn't effectively communicating. It was like, hey, let's just go to the easy thing, which was, hey, are we going to get a divorce? Terrible.
And then, I think we both weren't effectively communicating.
Yeah. Right.
Right. So we would talk to each other, but we weren't really listening to each other.
Yeah. And then came the family drama stuff we had to work through and continue to work through, but that, also helped us grow in our communication skills with each other. So communication, so here we are. We want to talk about communication today, make that clear. And it might go a couple episodes, we're not sure based on time here. So communicating, we struggled. We did. And, once again, we learned very quickly we needed some skills to do that. Before we jump in, Missy and I have noticed something in the past few years about like a listening deficit. We notice it everywhere in our lives, whether it's work life, whether it's, in personal relationships or in even at church sometimes, there's times when, there's people who just want to talk and they don't seem to be on receive mode much. And it's okay, we get it. But it does seem like there's a deficit in people being willing to listen.
Yeah, being willing to listen.
Yeah, we all want to be heard, right? And
I think that was a challenge in the beginning of our marriage too, because we would talk to each other, but I remember just thinking the whole time while Gene was talking, like I was trying to figure out my response, right? How I'm going to defend myself. So I wasn't really listening to him. I was just focused on myself and how I was going to respond to this. So I wasn't really hearing what he was saying.
Yeah. And I probably wasn't really clear on what I was saying, but I also would say that I have my own issues. I can be the rapid fire guy. Like I think really fast and I can just, and sometimes that can lead to like a railroading thing, which is not cool.
And I don't think really fast. I have to have time to kind of let it marinate for a little while. I have to, walk away and think about it, maybe even for a night or a day to have a response. So
yeah.
And that would frustrate Gene too, because you wanted me to answer right now.
Right now. And
I want the answer right now.
Yeah, and maybe a lot of men can relate. Maybe there's a few women that can relate to this.
Yeah.
I don't want to be the guy that says everybody's like this and everybody's like this. But I mean, I wanted to fix problems right now. Like, let's work this out. Let's figure it out. Hey, we got to talk this out. Blah, blah, blah. And Missy, in the meantime, like she said, you need to marinate on it. You need to marinate a little bit. You need to think through it a little bit. Let it settle in and like, hey, and then come back. We'd always, you do that. You always come back with such great.
But in the beginning, for the first several years, we didn't realize that was what was going on. I think you were maybe thinking I just wasn't gonna respond, or I didn't have a response, or right. So we weren't communicating. Like I wasn't communicating to him that hey, Jean, I need some time to think about this.
Yeah.
So
we learned very quickly in our marriage, communication is so important. And gosh, it is like next to the foundation of Jesus Christ in our lives, being good communicators in our marriage has been so key. So we're going to talk about a few of those things that worked for us. So early on, that we mentioned that we had some counseling, and we had a very dear chaplain friend in our lives, dear friend in our lives, and he gave us a recommendation.
It was a good one.
It was.
Yeah, he said to go home and sit on the couch together, side by side, right?
Nice.
Kind of like how we are here. And we needed a timer. And, back then, this was, 37 years ago,
right.
we didn't have our phones to use as timers. So we had probably a little hourglass timer, right?
That's right. It was that.
And I don't know, because he said, I feel like we're kind of forgetting like how long he said to do it for. I'm remembering 15 minutes, but anyway, it doesn't matter. 10 minutes, 15 minutes, set the timer. And he said, okay, set the timer for 15 minutes, and Jean, you talk. Oh. And Missy is not allowed to say a word, right? I can't say a word, I just listen. And then...
And he did tell us about some listening skills, listening to what the person was saying.
And repeating, what
right. All those
heard.
Things. Yeah, a lot of people have taken classes, I'm sure, and studied this before, or heard, read things on this, but there's some really good skills on active listening.
Right. And then, I had a turn to, for 15 minutes to talk, and Jean wasn't allowed to interrupt, because I think there was some interrupting going on in our communication. So
like I said, I could railroad pretty quick, jump on a thing and start attacking it, and that wasn't pretty.
Yeah. So that really helped us.
It did.
I think that was the beginning of us maybe learning how to listen, to truly actively listen.
That's right.
It's to set. Someone. Yeah.
It's set. It was like pouring cement, and it's set, and it really was a great, really became a crucial and an element to our marriage.
Right. And I'm just going to throw out a couple other things too that were helpful. One of the things that Jean, and I've always loved this about him, is that he, when he would be at work, he would always check on me during the day. And I truly took that for granted. Like, I just assumed everyone was like that. And I remember we were, it was one of our duty stations, and a friend and I were out walking together, and I got a text from Jean, and I just pulled it up, and I was like, oh, text from Jean. It was during the work day. And my friend was like, you mean he texts you hear from your husband during the day? And I said, oh yeah, he always checks in with me. And she's like, oh, I never hear from my husband. And it works for them, that's great, but for us, this was a way to connect, and he was checking on me to see how it was going during the day with the kids, how the kids are doing, or just taking a little break for him to touch base with me. Yeah. And because Jean always has worked really long hours, more than 8-hour days. So when he would get home from work, there's a lot of the day that he's missed, right? So that really would help to connect.
Yeah, even before mobile phones, right. I would pick up the phone and I would call Miss and say, what's going on? How are y'all doing? What's happening? Yeah. And it may not be long, just a quick check-in, or something might come to my mind. I'm like, hey, okay, I'm going to call, see how she's doing. I might also say, hey, what about this or that? And it was just a way to keep
the communication going.
Because not only I just want to say this, not only did I work long hours, I worked far away. So I had to commute long as well before mobiles.
A lot of times, unless we were, on base or whatever.
That's right. Yeah, but that's right. And then, but with mobiles, then it became easy to call you on the way home too and talk about the day
do that
caught
too.
Up, which was
But
good.
Another thing that I love too, especially this was when our kids were younger and kind of in the home, when you would get home from work, we kind of got into this habit, this routine.
Oh yeah, this was really good.
I kind of follow him into the bedroom. He'd, be taking his uniform off, getting, changing.
Don't
and
be, not like that.
And we would just connect at that point, like talking for 15 or 20 minutes about our day, right? Gene would share about his day. About things, challenges or good things or whatever, and I would share about my day too. So it was just a quick way for us to connect, and when you got home.
Yeah,
too.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think on that, and why I think this will be a two-part, kind of at least a two-part series, because this is another good point. Like, even when I got home in the evening, like you said, we would do that, but also we also had the kids have a bedtime, and the kids would go to bed, and we would have time to talk. And we would talk. We would, you know, whether it was right after I got home, you know, sometimes you're right, we would do that, but also we had time, we made time to communicate and spend time together when after the kids went to bed. So it was really important that the kids stuck to that, and we had a routine. You know, I usually was I loved being I love doing bedtime and sing songs and with them and pray with them and read a book or bathing when they were real little. I loved all that. So but that was all part of our ritual, like how we worked. And
right. And we were never really good about going on dates too.
True, we weren't really
didn't.
No.
But we never really felt the need to do that. I think because we had this time together, these different ways that we were having time together. So
most important thing, we prioritize communication. We prioritize spending some time talking. So if you need to go on dates to do that, well, then set dates and do it and make sure you're having effective communication.
That's right.
I'll just say this, it's got to be more than once a week that you're effectively communicating. I think just too many things happen and build up during a week of life, especially if you're still in the kid rearing stage. There's just so much that happens. And you just got to stay connected and talk things out and discuss things and just hear one another. And I could say that, you know, I guess there's so many details I want to go into, but I'll just say that coming home after being at work, you know, doing the things that I did, coming home to mama, being at home with the babies all day and throughout their lives, throughout their growing up, I really enjoyed hearing about what was going on. I started treasuring that time. Treasuring that time of hearing, like a little bit of the details about what happened throughout the day. And Missy was so great about that because she's very detail oriented and I am not. So it's a good thing that I was going to work and she was home, because she would have got like, they got up and got dressed. And what more do you need to know? But that's another thing I really value in Missy is she is detail oriented. She does listen really well. She listens closely. She picks up on things that I forget that I even said, you know, and that's not good sometimes either. But she remembers. And it's a beautiful thing because it holds me accountable too. But it works for us because you know, we kind of balance each other out like that. I can throw a lot of things out there, and Missy will sometimes focus on the one or two things that are really important to our marriage, our life, our kids, etc. And I've always treasured that. So
okay, so to kind of summarize what we've just talked about, I think it's you know, effectively communicating with each other and listening. I think listening is probably the main.
Yeah, the Bible says in the book of James it says be slow to speak, quick to listen, and slow to anger. We always mess. What am I doing? Please forgive us. We're not on script, but be quick to listen and slow to speak and slow to anger. Sorry, but so important. And so I think that's partly what we've done and through our effective communication. Doesn't mean we don't fly, you know, we get mad and we say things we shouldn't, and I say things I shouldn't, and I'm, you know, sometimes, you know, but the other thing is, I think we're not going to talk about this right now, but being able to quickly apologize. I think that's really important too in communication. Say, hey, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that. Oh, I don't know why I did that. And sometimes in the heat of the moment, we aren't willing to do that. But come back later and say it. Say, hey, I flew off the handle. I shouldn't have, or I shouldn't have been so curt. So effective communication. Right. I think we're gonna have to come back and do a part 2 on this. Okay. I think there's other things that we can unpack.
But I would like to say too, those of you that watch this, if you have some tips or some things that have worked well in your marriage, please comment on communicating, or anything. But definitely on communicating. We would love to hear your things that have worked for you in your marriage too. Share it with others so that they can grow and mature in their marriages and be all the better. So I think that's a wrap, baby. Okay. Sounds good. All right. We love you and we love your marriage. Take care. See you next time.